I'm Emily Aaron.
And I'm Jeffrey Aaron. We're here at the Air Cargo Forum talking to people about what's new
and what's next
in Air Cargo 2012 as TIACA meets in Atlanta. Speaking to Michael Weber, airport consultant, sir, could you tell me what the airports have to do to remain relevant in tough times, moving ahead? What do they have to do?
They really need to understand the business in terms of their individual context. You got a lot of airports who, they think they need to build new capacity. Well, as you know, a lot of carriers will operate in less than ideal circumstances if the market will bear it. They need to understand the market. They need to throw out a lot of the old templates. You got way too many airports out there talking about 1 ton per square foot. They're not looking at whether or not they're dealing with freighter operators as opposed to belly. If it's trans-Pacific, what are the windows that they're using? So they need to suit the capacity to the demand. They need to understand the market, and a lot of them don't.
What are some airports you admire around the world? Could you give me a fast tick list, maybe continent to continent, a couple of airports?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, and it's a matter of using the resources the best. Dallas-Fort Worth, for example, has a luxury that very few airports have, which is it's a major international gateway with thousands of acres of developable land. That's not a soft sell pitch, it's just a fact. And so what they need to do, for example, is you've got a lot of trans-Pacific operators there, so you need to match the ramp demand of that because a bunch of trans-Pacific operators all want the same windows, don't they? So you're going to have to get used to the fact that you're going to have ramp positions and they only be used 3 or 4 hours a day as opposed to a JFK or an O'Hare. Yeah. So they just need to understand their market. Again, I think there's way too many people out there willing to use templates, and they're going to talk about Victorville, California as if it's Amsterdam, and it sure as hell isn't.
Tell me about Atlanta. You're here in Atlanta a couple of days. What do you see?
Yeah, well, Atlanta's actually a good example of one of the airports that I think the future belongs to. And again, I know that sounds like a soft sale pitch, but it's a major international gateway with a huge carrier in Delta.
Yeah.
Same with DFW with American, and Houston with with Continental/United or United/Continental.
Yeah, tell me about Chicago.
Well, Chicago is always going to be Chicago, and by that I mean that if you look at employers who employ 500 people or more, Chicago's the last American city that looks like the one that we remember from 50 or so years ago. It's the strongest origin and destination market in the country. It's not just an international gateway. It's not a bunch of traffic being transported tail to tail. You got a tremendous amount of manufacturers in the Chicago area and within the driving radius. Everybody does the same concentric circles, and a lot of it's just nonsense. Everybody's a crossroads or a gateway to something, but Chicago actually, you've got 150 miles around it that has genuine, manufacturing industry. It's a demand driver, rich industry, probably the strongest in the country.
Well, everybody's there.
Exactly. Well, but precisely. But that's what every time that folks. You get all of these empty claims, and you and I have talked about a few of them. Again, everybody wants to be a gateway or a crossroads. Yeah.
Well,
now you're baiting me. Yeah.
Where did that go?
Well, but again, that's a perfect example of what we're talking about, though, because you get folks who want to go out to a Victorville, California, or places like that, and say, well, this is the next Amsterdam.
Yeah, nowhere's going to become something.
Yeah, everything's going to be the next Incheon.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is, it's well, if you're going to build a new major national airport, but a lot of these former military bases are where they were for good reason. They put them in the middle of nowhere, and there are a lot of issues that can't be taken care of with just a simple branding issue, and that's what I view a lot of that as.
One last question: are you bullish?
Bullish?
On the business, on the cargo business, on the airport business?
I think everybody can be bullish within certain regions. If you're strictly looking at the domestic business the next 20 years, you're looking at some really anemic growth. The international gateways in the U.S. are going to be a lot stronger, and there are parts of the world like Latin America. We used to say, if America catches cold, then Latin America gets pneumonia, and it can't recover without us. Well, they did. They recovered just fine, and we were still on our knees.
Oh, you like Latin America? How about the Middle East?
Boy, that's the two-ton question,
Yeah.
And I hate to draw it back to an Americanization of a question about the Middle East, but look at Houston. All these other international gateways were dealing with 20 and 30% losses, and Houston was up 15% during the same decade because Houston's our unofficial member of OPEC, isn't it? Oil and natural gas rich, and they kept growing.
Buy it, we will come.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks,
There's a reason Saudi and Qatar and all those folks are there.
Yeah, thanks, Michael.
No, thank you.
If you'd like further information on developing air cargo topics, go to www.aircargonews.com. If you'd like a free subscription to Air Cargo News and to our thrice weekly publication Flying Typers, write to me, Jeffrey, at aircargonews.com. In the meantime, thanks for watching, and keep 'em flying.